Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, Norma.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. So I see we have about 35 attendees. Um, so I'm okay with getting started if you are.
Okay, I'm ready if you are. I'll go ahead. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability's 2021 Ethics Week. My name is Norma Hutchison, and I serve as chair of the BEGA. With me this morning is Ashley Cooks, the acting director of the Office of Government Ethics. BEGA is an independent agency that has a dual mandate to administer and enforce the code of conduct that governs all district government employees and public officials, and to promote open and transparent government through enforcement of the Open Meetings Act and the district's Freedom of Information Act. We serve as your resource for ethics and open government issues in the district, providing advice and education on the rules and investigating potential violations, all in service of our mission to promote open and ethical government. We are excited that you could join us for our program this week, Reapproaching Ethical Values. We have a variety of sessions that we hope will be helpful as we transition from the fully virtual pandemic world while keeping our focus on ethics issues that we may encounter as we work to serve the residents of the district. Now I will turn the floor over to Acting Director Cooks for her remarks.
Thank you, Norma. Welcome to Ethics Week, everyone. This is the second year that we've offered Ethics Week as a week-long virtual event. We're very excited about it, and we're glad that you can join us today. Ethics Week used to just be one day at the one day full of trainings at the Berry Building. So we've added additional trainings, which makes it a week-long event. So again, we're glad that you joined us. We hope that you enjoy the presentations that we have scheduled for you all. All right, again, this year's theme is reapproaching ethical values. Oh, sorry. We chose this topic because it addresses the fact that for the past 19 months, the world has been at a standstill. We've had to adjust our lives to a new normal. Now we've reached a point where things are somewhat moving back to the way that they were prior to the pandemic. Businesses are open for full service, folks are traveling, returning to their favorite activities. Many district agencies are returning to in-person schedules, some on a full-time basis, some on an adjusted work schedule. So we're reapproaching the manner in which we live our lives and how we conduct our work, and reapproaching those values that we hold sacred. As we return to our normalcy and our regular work schedules, it's time that we reapproach ethics, including the meaning of ethics and our ethical values. So first, what is ethics? I would love to hear some of your definitions and thoughts on what is ethics. So feel free to go ahead and type it within the chat box. But here we have on the left side, we have the Webster's definitions of what is ethics. First, ethics is a set, according to Webster's, ethics is a set of moral principles, a theory or system of moral values, a guided philosophy, or a consciousness of moral importance. Okay, someone chatted, always being honest always. Great, great. Doing the right thing when no one is looking. Great, great. Great, I agree with moral principles. All right, so on the right side are some answers to this question that we received from some applicants. Recently, we had an attorney advisor vacancy within the office, And when we interviewed those applicants, we asked them, what is ethics? So these are some of the responses that we received. Ethics are social norms that must be followed, a moral code. Ethics is doing the right thing when no one is looking, or an application of a code of principles rooted in morality. So the Webster's definition and our personal thoughts about ethics, they're pretty close. One theme that you see in both answers is morality. Okay, see, my slide is not moving. All right. As government employees and public officials, we actually deal with two types of ethics. There are personal ethics as well as the government ethics. So let's start with personal ethics. Personal ethics is the basis of how we deal with other people. It's those values that we hold true to ourselves, and it manifests in the way that we treat others and how we conduct ourselves in certain situations. So personal ethics deals with honesty, respect, fairness, integrity, morals, hardworking values. Again, these are the values that we hold personal to ourselves. And because they're personal, they're subjective and they may differ from what someone else sees or what someone else thinks is ethics. So then there is government ethics. And government ethics is a set of standards that ensures that the government is operating in a manner that increases public trust and government integrity. So those government ethics rules are basically the groundwork or the standards that ensure that there's no financial conflicts of interest within the government. No employee is working to financially benefit themselves or someone that is or a person that is closely affiliated with them. That there is no abuse of power. No one is giving preferential treatment to anyone. There's no personal gain, that employees and public officials are serving the government rather than serving their own personal gain or personal values, that there's transparency in government and that government is operated in a fair manner, fairness. When all of the ethics standards are achieved or complied with, we get public trust and government integrity. So there is some overlap, as you all saw, with government ethics and personal ethics. But again, personal ethics is what you see fit as what you value as a person. They're not always the same as government ethics. So what one person sees as fair or moral may not be the same as what another person sees as fair or moral. And those personal ethics may not align with our government ethics standards. So if you go by your own personal ethics, you may be doing something that you think is okay, but it may not, it may violate the ethics standards, basically. An example of that would be accepting gifts. So on a personal level, we are taught to accept gifts, that it's okay to accept gifts, that, you say thank you, you're polite when you're accepting the gift. However, there are ethics rules, government ethics rules that prohibit the acceptance of gifts. So employees are prohibited from accepting gifts from prohibited sources and gifts that are given because of their official district employment. So that's one example of how personal ethics and government ethics can conflict. Also on a personal level, we always want to help people. So your personal ethics you may want to help a person in a certain situation in the performance of your duties. However, the manner in which you help that person may not align with the government ethics rules. So again, there are differences in personal ethics and government ethics. And that is why we make government ethics clear through the Code of Conduct. So these are the actual statutes and regulations that make up the Code of Conduct. We find most of our ethics rules in the Council Code of Conduct, in Chapter 18 of the District Personnel Regulations. That's also the DPM, the Local Hatch Act, the Ethics Act, But there are other provisions such as the Donations Act. There are two sections within the Merit Personnel Act that discuss ethics. And there's a section within the Procurement Practices Reform Act that deals with contingency fees and accepting services based on those fees. So these are the actual sections, the actual provisions that make up the Code of Conduct. And they are the standards, again, the groundwork, the ground rules that set up the ethics standards, the government ethics standards, so that there is no ambiguity. Everything is clear what the standards are so that we can achieve that public trust and government integrity, basically. So what do we mean by reapproach? Pretty simple. Webster's defines reapproach as to approach again. There's really no need to discuss anything further. Reapproach, to approach again, and it's just that simple. So when we say reapproaching ethical values, we're not saying that ethics disappeared, or that ethics was extinct, or that the rules were relaxed during the pandemic. Ethics is enduring. The rules remain the same before the pandemic and during the pandemic. We advised on the rules as well as enforce them in the same manner. Nothing occurred with ethics. Ethics was here, it's going to be here, and it's very important to government service. However, it would not be reasonable for us it will be unreasonable for us to not recognize that the past 19 months has been very tough for everyone. The world has been in a crisis. People's lives were turned upside down. And maybe ethics, while still important, was not at the forefront of your mind. So we all were dealing with working from home, remote learning, illness or death in our family. And not that we have forgotten about ethics or that ethics is not important to our government service, but there were other pressing matters that we had to focus our attention on maybe during the past 19 months. So we at BAGA, we are definitely understanding of that. Trust me, we were those folks who were right there in the grocery store with you, stockpiling personal items like tissue paper and paper towel and all type of other food items, so that we can make sure that we were secure at home, so that we could conduct our jobs in a safe manner. So we are reasonable people here at Ethics and at BAGA, and we do not think that ethics has disappeared or that employees were out there just violating the ethics rules during the pandemic. However, things were pretty hectic and complicated for everyone. So we think that this is a good time to reapproach those ethical values. So how do we do that? How do we reapproach ethics? Number one, reminding employees of the ethics rules. That's always important. If you are an ethics counselor, an ethics professional, this may involve sending out a quick note about the ethics rules. Also, ethics trainings. One benefit of the pandemic is that BAGA has trained more employees than we have ever before, using online platforms such as WebEx, Teams, Zoom. So we've trained thousands of employees during the pandemic, opposed to the amount of employees that we were training prior to the pandemic with our in-person trainings. So that being, again, reapproaching ethics, maybe you attending ethics trainings, and it also is you encouraging employees to attend ethics trainings. Open door policy or advice or complaints. We remained accessible and available to employees via Teams, telephone, email for ethics advice, as well as for employees filing complaints. So one way of reapproaching ethics is to maintain an open door policy so that employees can seek out ethics advice or express their concerns regarding ethics matters. And one way that we always want to do that is by responding to employees, especially in a timely manner. If we don't have an answer readily available to an employee, we always acknowledge receipt of that employee's inquiry, and then we communicate with that employee based on based on receiving their inquiry. But always keeping an open door policy. We try to do that. We do our best to try to manifest that at BEGA. And if you are an ethics counselor within your agency, it's always key to have that open door policy. Engaging employees and stakeholders. Maybe you are having, your agency is having an all hands or all staff meeting. One way to engage employees is by attending that meeting and reminding employees of the ethics rules, or inviting someone at BEGA to attend those meetings to give maybe a short presentation or an ethics training. And also this also goes aligned with getting feedback or communicating with employees regarding the ethics rules and ethics advice. And promoting a culture of compliance. So the ethics training, reminding employees, engaging with employees, all of those things actually create a culture of compliance within the office. So these are just some ways that we can reapproach ethics. And one thing that we're doing at BEGA is we have engaged with a vendor to create an online ethics learning management system. It's going to be a remote on-demand platform. Employees can go there, they can log in, they can register, create a login, and then they'll have access to all of our ethics trainings, our ethics materials. The materials will cover it will include ethics trainings and materials that we offered in the past, things that we intend to offer in the future. But the content is going to include our code of conduct courses, information on gift restrictions, nepotism, Hatch Act, code of conduct, outside activities, post-employment, those core ethics standards. But it'll also include courses on ethics decision-making, ethical leadership, building a speak up culture, and developing an ethical culture. So we'll have several courses on there that employees can just log in any time of the day from their computer or their cell phone or their tablet, and they can access their ethics training and ethics materials anytime. We're very excited about that, and we plan to launch the learning management system this winter. Another thing that we're doing to help reapproach ethics, ethical values, is our Miss Ethics videos. So if you guys are familiar with Miss Ethics, we have an introduction to ethics, where Miss Ethics talks about several ethics topics. And then we also have our Ask Miss Ethics videos, which are very funny, and we've gotten great feedback about those. But we are in the process of creating 2 additional Miss Ethics videos, and these will be Miss Ethics in the morning. In those videos, we actually address 2 topics. So there's one video that addresses financial disclosure statements. It talks about designations, the purpose of the FDS form, what information must be disclosed, and how and when to file your FDS. The other video talks about how and when to report ethics violations. It talks about BEGA's jurisdiction, anonymity, and our investigative process. We have been, we just shot some scenes for the video at our office. Ms. Ethics, she has completed her part. Of course, BEGA staff, they participated within the videos. So we're very excited about that, and those should be available within the next month. However, I have been given a rough draft that is, it's not a final edit of the video, but it's just a rough draft of the video that I want to share with you all today. I'm only going to share the one that deals with how to report an ethics violation, because again, they're both in rough form. So But since we're having Ethics Week, I want to be able to share something with you so that you can have an idea of what's to come. So I'm going to quickly show you the how and when to report ethics violations, Miss Ethics video.
Beautiful day in Washington, D.C., and I'm here to talk. It's another beautiful day in Washington, D.C., and I'm here to talk government ethics. My friends at Vega have been getting a lot of questions about reporting ethics violations. In fact, here's one now. Welcome. Hi, Miss Ethics. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I know if I see something, I should say something. But how do I know what might be an ethics violation? That's a great question. A good rule of thumb is what I call the public trust test. As district employees, we all have a duty to maintain the trust that our residents put in us. They trust us to do our jobs well and not to use our jobs for personal gain. So we shouldn't do things that break that trust. We shouldn't benefit financially because of our district government employment or steer jobs toward our relatives. We shouldn't use government property for non-government business. We shouldn't engage in outside activities that conflict with our official duties. Doing those things
Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We definitely enjoyed filming it with Miss Ethics and with the crew at Pendragon Productions. So we look forward to producing um, the final versions of these videos so that you all can view them. All right, so advisory opinions. This year we've actually issued two advisory opinions. One is a letter of recommendations and letter of support quick guide. It's a shorter version of our longer letters of recommendation and letters of support advisory opinion. So if you are an employee who has been asked to provide a letter of support or letter of recommendation, maybe from a contractor that your agency has worked with or a former employee, or if you are engaged in some type of constituent services as a council employee and you've been requested to provide, well, the council member has been requested to provide a letter of support, you can go to that quick reference guide and get an answer to your an answer for your request. We've also issued an advisory opinion seeking or negotiating employment. It deals with the employee's conduct when when applying for outside employment or employment that's going to be post-employment to district service. It addresses the conflict of interest statute. It addresses the council rule as well as the DPM rule that addresses engaging or applying for employment that conflicts with your official government duties. The advisory opinion also talks about the recusal requirement and how employees can actually fulfill that recusal requirement. So that advisory opinion is posted on our website as well as posted in the DC Register. Also, we will be issuing our annual best practices report this December. It's due December 31st. We are brainstorming right now about ideas, topics that we're going to include into that report. So just be on the lookout for it. It'll also be posted on our website. That is our annual best practices report. The Beggar Roadshow. So to help reapproach ethical values, we are planning to re-implement our Beggar Roadshow. The Roadshow is something that we did prior to the pandemic, where Beggar staff would go out to different community events, civic association meetings, citizens associations meetings, and also ANC meetings, and engage members of the public as well as stakeholders, provide information about the office, and answer any questions that the community may have about the agency, about Beggar. So that is something that we plan on re-implementing in the future through a virtual option, of course. We're not going to go in person to these community events. But that's something that we have enjoyed doing in the past, and it was very successful. So we will start that again soon, and we will advise you guys once we do begin the roadshow again. All right, so our negotiated dispositions, we haven't had many of them this past year. However, I did want to tell you guys about some of them. So this one is actually Henry J. Johnson. This dealt with a respondent, a government official who refused to return government property, specifically a cell phone and a laptop. That employee violated the government property rules. Of course, employees have a duty to protect and conserve government property and shall not use it for personal usage. And employees also must adhere to all federal, state, and local laws. And this employee violated those laws when they did not return their government equipment. This public official did. So they were ordered to pay a $4,000 fine. And as always, our negotiated dispositions, you can view the full document on our website under enforcement and then negotiated dispositions. Another negotiated disposition that was entered into by BEGA is Henry J. Jolly. And this is where a respondent failed to recuse from a grant application that was actually applied for by their outside employer. So of course, the conflict of interest statute, it prohibits employees from engaging in or using their official title and position in a manner that would have a direct and predictable effect on their financial interests or the financial interests of a person closely affiliated with them. An outside employer is a person closely affiliated with an employee. So in this case, the employee actually self-reported the violation, and we investigated the matter, and the employee actually didn't participate within the approval process for the grant. They were a part of the team, but they didn't make any decisions. They were named as a certain project manager, but their participation was not as egregious as some other conflict of interest participation, some other cases that we've had findings on. So this employee was ordered to pay a $500 fine. Next, there is Henry C. Matthews. This is where an employee misused a fleet share vehicle for personal usage on multiple occasions. Again, the ethics rules prohibit employees from misusing government property, for using government property for an other than authorized purpose. And here it was pretty clear that the employee used the government vehicle for their own personal usage rather than to perform their government duties. This employee was suspended for 2 days without pay by their agency in order to pay a $500 fine. So we haven't had many negotiated dispositions during this time. But just like advice and training are ways that we can reapproach our ethical values, negotiated dispositions are also a mechanism of doing that as well, because we have to address those ethics violations. All right, financial disclosure statement and lobbyist registration filings. So as you all know, BEGA handles, as many of you know as ethics counselors, BEGA handles the FDS filings. This year we had 3,702 filers for this filing season, and we had a 90% rate of timely filings, which is great. I commend you ethics counselors, and I commend the BEGA FDS staff. That is a great number. I think that's the highest that we've had so far, especially with our new e-filing system. So we're very happy about that. For our lobbyist registrations, we've had 836 registrations filed that were renewals. We've also had over 1,000 activity reports that were filed. So we're doing our best with our FDS and LRR filings, and we have had great success with both programs, basically. All right, folks. So that's our updates, and that's how our ideas of reapproaching ethics. We have scheduled a week of trainings to help with ideas and activities for reapproaching ethical values. We hope that you join us for our presentations this week and also share your ideas for reapproaching ethical values. We're all ethics professionals. BEGA is always open to new ideas. So we hope that you attend our trainings. Our next session is today at 2 p.m. and it's an Ask BEGA session. What we've done is we have issued a Survey Monkey where folks were allowed to submit their ethics questions, and we will answer those questions during the live session. But thank you for attending. Thank you for keeping an open mind about reapproaching ethical values, and we look forward to engaging with you this week as well as after this week in the future. So we want to thank you for attending, and that is it for ethics introductions and updates. And I don't see any questions in the chat. So I want to thank you guys for attending, and always reach out to us if you have any questions. Yes, you do have to register for each session separately. So if you go to our website, there's a list. If you go to our website, go to training, and there's Ethics Week 2021, and all of the sessions are listed. You have to register for each one individually. All right, I have a question about the staff changes at BEGA. So I am serving as the acting director. Supervisory, Asia Stewart Mitchell is the supervisory attorney of advice and education. We have some new staff members, which you will meet at the Ask BEGA session. We have Ms. Lynn Tran. She is our new senior attorney advisor. We have Maurice Eccles. He's an attorney advisor. Our general counsel is Rashi Raj. And we also have a vacancy at BEGA that's currently posted on the DCHR's website. Okay, thank you everyone for attending, and I will see you all at 2 p.m.